What's up, y'all? Toya here, and I am back with another video for y'all. Before we get into the video, make sure you guys either like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Alright, y'all, welcome back to the gig debate. This is a series where we discuss various topics in the gig community that people might be divided on. So today, we're going to talk about content creators. Do they do more harm than good in the gig community? Let's talk about it. Now, gig work is still relatively new in comparison to other forms of work. It didn't really get too popular until the pandemic. There were surges on both sides. Customers didn't want to leave the house, so they ordered everything for delivery, and drivers needed income because unfortunately some people did lose their jobs, so they turned to gig work. It ended up being a win-win for both sides. Now, fast forward 5 years later, and things just are not the same. Pay has gone down, markets have become super oversaturated, and why is that? Well, some folks like to blame the content creators, or the gig tubers as people like to call us. Content creators are talking about how much money you can make, and they're just throwing these gig app names out left and right. People run to sign up for all of these apps, the market becomes saturated, and all these newbie drivers, they're taking all these crap orders and they're driving the pay down. Now, obviously, I'm a content creator. I talk about gig work, so I'm biased. And while I have briefly touched on this in the past, I can definitely see why people feel this way. First, let's talk about why I don't think content creators are the problem. It's 2025, and the internet has everything that you could possibly ask for. Need a recipe for dinner? Well, you can go and browse dinner ideas online. Your lawnmower is making a weird noise and you want to try to fix it yourself? You can go ahead and look up a how-to. Feeling sick and you want to diagnose yourself? Well, you can go and search your symptoms and hope you don't stumble upon the worst case scenario possible. The internet offers the ability for you to find anything at the click of a button. This includes a very popular search of how to make money, or different variations of how to make money fast, how to make quick money, things like that. And guess what pops up during these searches? Delivery gig apps. And information about these apps can be found in video form on YouTube, TikTok, even some articles and some blogs have information. Now, videos are easier to digest, so most people tend to find content creators on YouTube and other platforms. Now, let's go back to that search bar. People are searching how to make money, right? Why do people search this? Well, I can tell you they ain't doing it for fun. For most folks, expenses have continued to rise and income has pretty much stayed the same. Now, I did some digging to find some numbers to support this argument, and I came across two different articles. These articles highlight the percentage of people in the US that have a secondary source of income. So one article, which was a little bit older, they say about 50% of people have a secondary source of income. A newer article states that it's 71%. Now, which number you believe to be more accurate is up to you to decide. Personally, I think that it's going to be in the middle, probably a little bit closer on that higher side. So what is considered a secondary source of income? It could be another W-2, it could be a side hustle, it can vary. Now, I obviously don't speak for everyone's situation, but as I've mentioned a few times on this channel, the reason I got into gig work was because I needed extra income that my job couldn't provide. I did some research, looked into some YouTube videos, took action, and the rest is history. That's my story, but I'm pretty sure a lot of other people have similar scenarios. You're short on funds, so gig work was able to close that gap that people need. And what made it so attractive in comparison to other side hustles that people might have come across is that it's a lot easier to get into and you can work when you want to. Now, as far as what content creators present to their audience in relation to gig work, that's another story, and I'll get into that shortly. But if you need money, you come across some videos that show you, hey, here's an easy way to make money, it's kind of obvious why people would decide to flock to gig work. Now, let's flip the switch. The video fluff, the exaggeration, however you want to spin it, it can be an issue. Now, if you haven't done any form of content creation, some of these things you may or may not understand, but I'm going to be as transparent as possible and explain it as best I can for you to understand. Now, if you want to be successful with your content creation and you want to grow, you have to get clicks. Clicks equal views, views equal revenue. So your thumbnail, the title, the tags, the video itself. These are all factors that drive the algorithm, and the algorithm influences who sees your videos. And this is what separates content creators who do it for the money versus content creators who do it for the love of content creation. And if you pay close enough attention, you can tell who's who. And that's based off if you're actually providing knowledge and being transparent and not just bragging about how much you can make. And honestly, you could probably group those folks that sell courses in there too, because like, I respect the hustle, don't get me wrong, but to charge people for free information that might already be on existing videos or someone else's videos, you know, it just kind of seems like a money grab to me. You know, there's no special blueprint per se. And I ain't gonna lie, I've seen some folks that just charge for a list of apps. Like, you could literally just do a Google search and find that. But I ain't gonna go ahead and get into all of that. Now, for myself, yes, I will admit that I do eventually want to replace my 9-to-5. And that's going to be with a few sources of income, and one of those sources of income does include YouTube. And in order to grow, you do have to attract people to your channel. So if you want to call some videos clickbait, I guess in a sense it kind of is, but that's just part of the game when it comes to content creation. But I will say, I'm not going to go ahead and sell you a lie. I'm not going to tell you you can make $3,000 in a week off of gig apps. I'm chasing a bag, but I'm not chasing it at my audience's expense. And that's the issue. That's why we get the heat. There are content creators that either don't tell the full story, they add that fluff, and people see these videos and they get an unrealistic expectation. So when they go out and they try these apps and things don't work out how they expected, it becomes our fault. But I would say that the blame goes both ways here. On one hand, creators should not be selling a lie to desperate people. But on the other hand, you should be doing the necessary research to make sure that you're fully covered and you fully understand what you're getting into. Now, I kept trying to figure out how to draw a parallel to this and food review content creators. A lot of people don't like people that do food reviews because they feel like it brings a lot of traffic to places that may not have been known prior. Getting that exposure is great for the business, but people, they're gonna be like, nah, you know, that's my spot. You know, I used to love coming here, but now all these people coming over here, and now the food quality gonna be going down, and now it's gonna take forever, the line's gonna be long, and all this, you know, all the negatives, right? I think the best way to draw a parallel to this is, you know, people need to stop gatekeeping. They have to stop keeping information from others. I think that's the issue with a lot of content creators. A lot of people put content creators in that same bubble of, oh, if you didn't tell people about this, X, Y, and Z wouldn't have happened. If they want to shed light on something, you know, now it's a bad thing because it's affecting you negatively. At least that's how you're interpreting it. People think that bringing too much attention to something is a negative because they're not going to have the same level of access to it as they had prior. You know, they'll say something like, well, now everybody wants a piece of it, or now everybody's into this and there's nothing left for me. I'm struggling. I can't do this. You know, it's always me, me. What about everybody else? Everybody else can't eat? Now, I guess some people might argue that, you know, there's such thing as giving too much information. I guess it depends on the context, but when it comes to providing financial knowledge to people, nah, I don't think you should be gatekeeping that. If there's another alternative for people to make money, whether it's gig work, real estate, stocks, crypto, whatever, you name it, right? That should just be free game. Okay, it should be up for grabs. Everybody should get an equal opportunity. The other thing that I think people fail to realize is that not everybody is going to be able to take that information and apply it properly. Some people just simply won't be able to put in that work. They think that it's super easy. They look at somebody doing it in a video, they think they can replicate it, and it's not as simple as they thought. So in this case with gig work, people are looking at the videos, they see how much money you can make, and without doing the proper research, you know, they go ahead and make these irrational decisions. I've literally heard some people that have quit their jobs to just do gig apps, and I'm like, Who told you that? Like, I don't know if anyone actually said that in the video, quit your job and do gig apps, but bro, you if you ever quit your job to do gig apps, bro, I'm sorry. If it just don't work out, that's all on you. I'm not gonna lie, that is all on you. But these people, they make these irrational decisions, they flood the apps, and then when it doesn't work out how it's supposed to or how they expected it to, you know, they blame the content creators. The content creators then oversaturated the market, or the drivers, they're doing this or they're not doing that. You know, they're blaming everybody but themselves. And these are not only new folks, these are existing drivers as well. Some drivers that have been doing this for some time. I have seen people in my own comment section talking about, y'all messing up the market, y'all doing this, y'all shouldn't be sharing this, da 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 da. You know, like, I don't know what to tell you. People keep forgetting that being independent is not supposed to be easy. You have to, you know, grind, you have to put in work. You're gonna come across various obstacles, and if oversaturation is just one of those obstacles that you can't overcome, you know, you might just have to hang it up. It's part of the game. And honestly, if you really think about it, it's honestly with anything that you try. You know, take content creation for example. People see some of these content creators, they see how much money that they're making off their videos, and they're like, I can do that, I can make a YouTube channel. And not to discourage anyone, you know, if you want to go ahead and put in the work and do a YouTube channel, trust me, it's worth it, but it is a lot of work. Okay, people will upload 2 or 3 videos and they expect the money to start just rolling in, just coming in, it's flowing. It doesn't work like that. Some people get monetized within what, maybe a month or 2. Some people, it took them 5 years to get monetized. It just kind of depends. It varies. There's a lot of variables. It's not that simple. And then when you realize it's not that simple, you get upset, you get frustrated, then you quit. Either that, or you become a content creator that decides to sell out and do anything and everything for the views and the subs and all of that. And listen, kudos to y'all that have broken the code, figured it out, and y'all flourishing. But is it worth it? Honestly, is it worth it? So as a content creator, that's my issue with some other content creators. It's hard to find genuine people who make videos because they actually want to spread knowledge and help other people, and not just do it for their benefit. Those are the people I would say that give content creators a bad rep in the gig community. But again, this is all free information unless you're selling a course. But it's up to you what you do with that information. You know, when I read some of my comments and I see that, you know, a lot of you guys have actually benefited from, you know, the information I provided. Hell, even sometimes when I've run into some supporters and you're like, you know, oh, I'm so happy that, you know, your videos, they put me on to these apps, to this and that, you know, they help me do that. And, you know, it just, that's the stuff that keeps me going, right? That's what makes me realize that my videos, you know, actually make a difference in you guys' lives. And that's why I don't always see content creation as bad when it comes to gig work. You know, sure, there might be a few bad apples that give out incorrect information or exaggerated information or whatever it may be, but I would say that it has done a lot more good than harm, you know, based off of the responses that I hear from you guys. You know, just introducing people to the life of gig work and, you know, showing that there's other ways to get money on the side. Or, you know, helping current gig workers, you know, perfect their craft and become more efficient and be more profitable. These are the positives I think that we should be focusing on more so, instead of blaming content creators for your shortcomings. Like I said, not all creators are genuine, but at the same time, you also have to hold yourself accountable. What are you doing to hinder your own success? And if oversaturation is an issue, what is complaining about it gonna do? People are still gonna make their videos. More gig workers are gonna continue to get onto the apps because they need money. So what's your response to all of that? Figure something else out. Figure out a different side hustle, something. Like I mentioned in the very beginning of this video, use the internet to your advantage. There's so much information out there at your fingertips. You know, twiddling your thumbs and typing to a person and cussing them out saying this is your fault, you're doing this and da 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 da. That person don't even know you. If anything, they probably looked at that comment, either blocked you, reported you, ignored it, whatever. It's irrelevant to them, okay? I've seen so many crazy comments of people blaming me. Oh, this is this or this is that. And I'm just looking, I'm like, bro, if you don't like it, you ain't gotta watch the content. I'm just saying. I mean, I appreciate the view. You know, it helps with the algorithm. But, you know, doing all that extra and this and that, it don't do anything. It doesn't do anything. You know, take that same energy. You know, you're frustrated with how the gig economy is going. You're frustrated with this. You're frustrated with your job, whatever it may be. You know, use that as your fuel. Use that as a way to better yourself, to get yourself in a better situation. And just use the knowledge that is presented to you, whether it's from another content creator or word of mouth, or, you know, you just browsing the internet for whatever. You know, use that to your advantage, because, you know, the possibilities are endless. Like I said, I might be biased, but I'm just saying, I gotta keep it real with y'all, okay? I gotta keep it real. But yeah, that's pretty much it, y'all. That's pretty much all I got for this video. So I would definitely love to know your thoughts on this particular topic. Do you think content creators do more harm than good to the gig community? Let me know in the comment section below. Now, before I let you guys go, I have to remind you guys to leave a like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss a video. But I'm gonna go ahead and get up out of here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. And as always, stay safe out there and keep grinding.